Hey guys, it's Rashab, and I'm bringing you my recap of last Sunday's Game of Thrones episode, The Broken Man. So, this episode, much like the one before it, it was mostly set up for the future episodes, but it did have some good moments. So, I'm just going to talk about the different storylines that happened. So, in this episode, we had Jon and Sansa in the north. We had King's Landing. We had Jaime heading over to River Run. We had Arya in Bravos, and we had the Greyjoys, and we had the return of one of my favorite characters. So I'll actually save the favorite character thing for the last. That's probably the best thing that happened in the episode. So, in Jon's storyline, basically Jon and Sansa, they're heading for Winterfell, but they still need to get help if they want to take out the Boltons, because the Boltons outnumber them by I think 2 to 1. So they're basically going to the other northern houses and saying, "Look, you swore your lives to the Stark house, and that if the Starks ever needed you, that you'd come and help us." And then so that's basically what they're doing. Since Sansa, she has a Stark name, she's trying to use that to help to motivate the other houses to help them, right? But a lot of them, they hate the Starks mostly because of Robb Stark, because back when in season 1, 2, and 3, when Ned Stark was captured by the Lannisters, Robb Stark rallied all the northern houses to help him fight against the Lannisters, but he did a lot of things wrong. It's part of the reasons why he did die. He did a lot of things that the Northerners, they weren't really happy with, so they basically think they basically feel that the Starks are dead, in a sense that the Starks betrayed them. Robb Stark was the last Stark. We're not helping the Starks ever again, because most of them owe their return to their homes and all to the Boltons, because the Boltons helped a lot of them regain their power and their homes or whatnot. So they feel loyal to the Boltons, even though they've sworn their lives to the Starks. So they visit two main houses. One is the Mormonts, and is run by Lyanna Mormont. And it was actually pretty funny to see, because Lyanna, she's much like Robin Arryn, she's like a small child, but that's where the differences end, because she actually looks like she commands power and respect, and she actually knows what she's doing, because like even though she's a kid, she talks and sounds like she knows what she's doing. And I thought that was really cool to see, because most of the children like leaders we have had, like Tommen, Robin, and I guess Joffrey when he was younger, they weren't really that great of leaders, but you can tell like she's already a good leader, and if she lives long enough, she'll probably become a great leader. And of course, she was named after Lyanna Stark, and much like Lyanna Stark, she's also like a warrior herself. So I thought that was pretty cool to see. And so she does agree to help them eventually, when Sir Davos mentions that the White Walkers are coming, and then that the real war is between the living and the dead. I believe that's the quote he uses. And then she talked to her advisor. She's like, "Okay, how many men can we spare to help them?" And then the guy's like, "I think we can spare half of them or something." And then Jon and all, they look happy, right? She's like, "Fine, I'll give you 62 men." So that shows that the Mormonts, they don't really have that many men. And even the faces that Jon and like Sansa make, that's like, okay, we'll take it, but it's not much, right? So it's pretty funny to see. So, and the other house they visited, I've never heard of it, but it's called House Glover, and they basically turned down the Starks, and they're like the reasons I mentioned Robb Stark, because Lord Glover, he hates Robb Stark, especially since his brother, who was Lord before him, fought along Robb Stark, but then he felt like Robb Stark wasn't there when the Greyjoys took over, so he's loyal to the Boltons, and he refuses to help them. And this makes me question, like, the Northerners have always been made to be loyal people, especially to the Starks, but we see that not everyone is as willing to help as the Mormonts. Even Lyanna Mormont, she was hesitant at first. The only reason she helped them is because Sir Davos mentioned the White Walkers, and clearly she believes in them. So it makes me wonder, like, are the houses still loyal to the Starks, or have they thrown their lot into with the Boltons? So it'll be interesting to see, because I think the fight between the Boltons and the Starks will happen within the next 2 episodes, because the episode 9 is called Battle of Bastards. So that's probably going to be Jon's army versus Ramsay's army. So we'll have to wait and see. but I think most of the northern houses are still loyal to the Starks, but at the same time they're also loyal to the Boltons because the Boltons helped them out after Robb Stark's rebellion. So we'll have to wait and see for that. So back in King's Landing, this was a story I was actually most interested to see how it continued, especially after last episode, because in the last episode we saw that Margaery managed to bring Tommen into the faith, and basically Tommen, he strips Jaime of his ranking as Lord Commander, and he basically banishes him from the realm. And we shows that Margaery, she's in the Sept, and she's reading a passage from, I guess, their version of the Bible. I don't know what the exact name of the book is called. And then the High Sparrow is like, look, you need to bring your grandmother, Lady Tyrell, into the faith. Otherwise, I fear for her safety. And I feel like in a body and soul, and I feel like he's, in a way, he's threatening her, saying like, look, if you don't bring her into the faith, she's either going to have to do the Walk of Atonement, or we might have to kill her or whatnot. So there was like an implied threat in there. So then Margaery, she goes to her grandmother, and she's basically saying, look, you need to join the faith. They're right and all. They've helped me see the light and all. But at the same time, she hands her grandmother a parchment of paper. And in the paper, it's a drawing of a rose, which is the symbol of House Tyrell. So I feel that Margaery, she's playing the High Sparrow in everyone. Margaery doesn't look like the type of person like who just give up her beliefs and all, or like her power just because under the threat of something else. I feel like she's playing the High Sparrow and everyone else. So we'll see how that plays out in the future episode, because they didn't really focus that much on the King's Landing story. And afterwards, like, Cersei visits Lady Tyrell, and then Lady Tyrell is basically like, look, all of this that's happening, it's all your fault. You're the one who gave the High Sparrows so much power. You're the reason that this country is, like, I guess, going to hell in a sense. And you're the reason our two houses have fallen to the dirt. So you can tell that Cersei feels the same way. And then I like the fact that somebody finally told Cersei that, yeah, it's your fault. You're the one who did this. Because, yeah, she is the one who did this. She's the one who gave the High Sparrow and all the Faith Militants so much power. And, yeah, it finally feels nice for someone to actually tell her, look, you messed up. This is all your fault. Good luck fixing this. So then we head over to Riverrun, where Jaime is trying to take the castle back because it belongs to the Freys, and he goes to meet the Blackfish, who's Lord Edmure's uncle and the uncle of Catelyn Stark as well. So he basically says, look, surrender and I'll let all of you live, but if you try and fight, we will kill every man, woman, and child in that castle. And then Blackfish is basically like, okay, we haven't, you'll have to take the castle first, and it's not as easy as it seems, and we can manage to stay in here for 2 years with all the supplies we have. How long can you stay? And then like Jaime, you can tell like they had like some sort of crossroads where like they had this conflicted idea of what's going to happen. And then basically I like Blackfish's parting comment, and he's like, you know, the reason I held this meeting is because I wanted to meet you, Jaime Lannister, in person, right? I've heard so much about you. And then Jaime was like, yeah, now you have. And then Blackfish was like, yeah, now I have. I'm disappointed. So I thought that was a pretty cool line. Because Jaime, like, he had the reputation of obviously being the Kingslayer. And obviously he also has a reputation of being a great fighter. But ever since he lost his hand, people haven't really been taking him as seriously as they did before. And even Blackfish, he's like, look, I'm disappointed. Like, you're not the person I thought you'd be. So I wonder how that's going to play out, especially since Sansa also sent Brienne to the Riverrun. And obviously she and Jaime have a history, so I'm wondering how that's going to play out. So then we cut over to Braavos and Arya. And Arya, she's basically planning to escape Braavos. And then she goes to some merchant or whatever, gives them some coins. Is like, look, I need a cabin. I'm willing to pay for the journey, and then we need to leave as soon as possible, right? So afterwards, she goes and she's just, I guess, chilling on a bridge or something. And then the waif shows up, and then she stabs Arya. But for whatever reason, she doesn't kill her. Like, Arya throws herself into the water under the bridge. And then the wave, he just sees the blood. He's like, oh, okay, Arya's dead, so I'm done here. And Arya, she's obviously alive. And I really think that's stupid because the Faceless Men, they're one of the most feared assassins in all of Westeros. So for one of them to just stab her and not actually confirm the death, I felt was pretty stupid. But then again, plot. So yeah, there you go. So Arya, and I really hate what they did with Arya's storyline this season because there was so much build up for her to become a faceless person and become no one, and now in the last two episodes she's basically turning her back on the Faceless Men, and she basically wants to reunite with her family, which I guess is fine for her, but I feel like they shouldn't have built her up so much to be a faceless person and just completely scrap that storyline. So yeah, I don't really care about Arya's storyline anymore, to be honest. And yeah, so then we head over to the Greyjoys, and they don't focus much on the Greyjoys this episode. Basically, the gist of it is that Yara, she's trying to convince Theon to become the Theon that she knew before Ramsay got to him. So she basically says, look, we'll get justice, and then if you don't want justice, we'll at least get revenge, right? So they're basically heading over to Daenerys to make a pact with her and Meereen, right? Before Euron gets there. So basically, Theon, he's still having like confidence problems, like he's still traumatized from his experiences with Ramsay. So Yara, she basically, I guess, not fixes him completely, but you can tell, like at the end of the scene, that some of what Theon Greyjoy used to be is coming back to him, and you see more of the old Theon returning. So I really want to see that because Theon was actually one of my favorite characters. Even though he wasn't that likable, I actually liked him as a character. So I want to see the old Theon return, the one we knew before Ramsay got to him. And finally, the character I was saying that returns after so many seasons, the Hound. So when this episode started, there wasn't any intro, like the intro song that we're used to, right? So I was wondering where was the intro, right? So, and it showed like all these people, they're building a building or something. And it shows all these people, they're carrying like these huge lumber like to the building, like, and then it shows like the last person, like there's one huge guy just carrying one huge lumber by himself. And in my head I was like, wait, is that the Hound? Because there were rumors that he might return this season, and then finally they pan out to his face and it's the Hound. And I'm not gonna lie, I had a huge grin on my face because the Hound is one of my favorite characters in Game of Thrones. And it also brings up the possibility of a possible theory called Clegane Bowl, which I'll get to later after I finish the Hound's story. So it turns out that the Hound, he was found by the Faith, and they thought he was dead. And just as they were about to bury him, he basically woke up, I guess. And then ever since he's been like working with the Faith, just doing honest labor, building stuff like churches, and I assume they're building a church or something. And just trying to stay out of everyone's way, right? So it shows that I guess he's on a redemption path. He's no longer killing anyone that he used to, and then everything's going fine for him. Like it looks like he finally found peace with the Faith, and then the Brotherhood without banners show up, and they basically slaughter everyone, like in the Hound's group, while the Hound is off getting some firewood, right? So you can tell, like, and at the end, the Hound decides, I guess I am a killer, and I'm gonna go seek revenge on the Brotherhood, and he basically grabs an axe and then goes after them, and like I said, this brings up the possibility of the Clegane Bowl, Return of the Hound. And for those of you who don't know, Clegane Bowl is a popular theory in the books, between that. The Hound will kill Sir Robert Strong, who's a mountain reincarnated. So basically, the theory goes is that since the Hound is a part of the Faith, Cersei will demand a trial by combat when the High Sparrow presses charges against her, and she'll obviously pick the Mountain to be her champion. And even this season, she's been saying, "I'm gonna demand it's gonna be a trial by combat. I have the Mountain. There's no way I can lose." So the theory is that the High Sparrow gets the Hound to be his champion, and then we basically have a battle of brothers between the Hound and the Mountain. And I believe the theory states that the Hound beats the Mountain, and that's how Cersei dies after the Mountain dies. So I really hope that happens because that sounds like a cool fight. We saw a brief battle between the two brothers back in season 1, but I really want to see a full out battle to death between these two brothers because they're two of the biggest, strongest, and most feared warriors in Westeros. So I really want to see them fight. So those are my thoughts on the last episode. So this season's almost done. We have 3 more episodes left, and yeah. So I'm really the storylines at this point. The only storylines I actually care about anymore are the North, Bran, Tyrion, and now that the Hound's back, the Hound. I really don't care about the other ones. I never really liked Daenerys, the Greyjoys. Like, if Theon comes back, I might be interesting, but it's not looking that great to me. And Arya, I used to love her storyline, but this season, they just completely ruined her storyline for me. So, yeah, I don't really care about her storyline anymore. So that's my review of last week's episode of Game of Thrones. So, whatever your favorite part was, just comment below. And do you think the Clegane Bowl will happen? Just comment below. As always, like, share, subscribe, and I'll catch you in the next one.